I'm coming back to a piece I learned a few years ago, and I always find that if I learn the piece very solidly in terms of knowing the harmonic rhythm, the structure, the fingering, the kind of legato touch I need, particularly for the arabesque. Do I want an articulated legato, or for this impressionistic music, do I want more of a dragging the fingers, floating legato, seamless, which I think I do want. There's so many triplets, and triplets are by their own nature, especially when they're legato triplets. They're very curvy, they're shapely, they're floaty. And so you want to get that mood right away. In terms of the arabesque, knowing the harmonic rhythm I think is very important. Knowing the palette, the vocabulary of this era of composition is important. You're in the key of E major. It basically starts with the 4 chord. If we block kind of the harmony out, we have the 4 chord going down to the 3 chord in the scale of E major. The 2 chords, totally beautiful. So simple, but so beautiful. And right away you want to kind of hear that thread of that harmony, that it's kind of falling down so divinely. And so definitely you don't want to be articulating this. You want to be rolling through it in the very suspended arms. And I'm going to do it very slowly, because I think when you review a piece, the slower you can play it with expression, and particularly in this piece with 2 against 3, which you're going to have triplets against eighth notes that are in 2, dividing the quarter in 2, against the triplet, dividing the quarter in 3. That's an important relationship that everybody asks about in this piece. If you can play it very slowly and pull off that relationship as it really should be, then it bodes well for when you inch up your tempo. I'm not one of the believers that puts arrows through between notes of the triplets to show where you insert the left hand. You really have to have a very even set of eighth notes going through the left hand, and a very even set of triplets above that. And then when you put it together, it should work, because you've disassociated each line and done justice to its own integrity as triplet and as flowing eighth notes, 2/8 to the beat. So I'm going to go very slowly, and again, when you fall down at the beginning, that's so beautiful. And then what he does after that, so here's the 1 chord, then he goes to the 2/7 chord, or the 2 chord, then he goes to the 2/7 chord, and you know, Debussy loves to add sevenths and ninths, and he goes to the 7/7 chord, and then he goes to a pure 4 chord, and to a 5/9 chord. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, there it is, there's the 5/9 chord, which he does, and when we get there we'll see. Adding 7ths and 9ths, really, even more than this whole tone scale business, which I don't think is a feature of the arabesque. It's not the whole tone scale at all. It's using 7ths and 9ths. Also does that in the reverie. And passing dissonances too, where things blur a bit. And when you add a 9th to a dominant 7, you already have a dissonance, as if this wants to go into that. But he doesn't do that always. So we start very slowly, and this is how slowly I'm going to go to get the control when I review the piece. So I'm still thinking of this rolling triplet. I'm just going to go through it very slowly. 4 chord, 3 chord, 2 chord, 1 chord, 2 roll those triplets. Slowly, and he makes a crescendo here. He goes to soft, resolve it, E major. Look how slowly I'm going. what's tricky about this, and actually this can be mapped out by blocking, these are parallel thirds in the key of E major. So this would be the fa, fourth note of E major with the third under it, and I would get the fingering as follows: 4, 2, 5, 3. These are parallel thirds in the key of E major. I would do all parallel fingerings to make it easy to pattern the fingering. Now here, you want to switch over to 4 here so you can get the legato to appoggiatura. Now underneath, what you have is broken thirds, starting with on the scale La, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, the 6th note. And instead of blocking those, he's playing with rolling thirds with 1, 2s. So you want a pattern fingering there. So it's diatonic, meaning it goes through the scale. It stays in the scale of E major. So you have to remember what you did here. Switch to 4. So you have the top voice ringing out with quarter notes, which have triplets running through them. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And this is back to dividing the quarter in 8s, 2s. See what he does? He goes back 2. Not triplets anymore there. There's a good way to learn quickly that, so you're thinking of diatonically. It's a very tricky place, I must say. But if you think in these diatonic thirds, then these are broken underneath. Really combining a broken third with a blocked third. And the left hand under that, you have a dominant 7 of E major. That's the root of the dominant, the 5th, the 7th, and the root, and then he does root 3rd, 5th, 7th, root. So that's the tightest fit there. But here he jumps over the 3rd. So you really need to know things like that to help you learn, or to review what you've already learned. In my case, going back to it and finding these things that when I learned it, I remembered writing it all in for myself, which is important. So again, when you go back to the measure before, the 2-7 here, this is a 2-7. He loves those 7th chords. That's part of the... And also what characterizes this period of music is and I said this before, the dissonances that might go, really very dissonant things that go through what is a 7th chord. And that's all right to blur it, because that's part of the vocabulary. Too much pedaling kills the impressionistic sound, which has got a little bit of watercolors rolling into each other, the colors, merging together. So, especially when you go quicker, it won't be so bothersome. That's when I changed my pedal, when I got to that. But before that, I let it blur. This is one pedal, new pedal. Pedal, 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 pedal. Yeah, I think there I would pedal each one. Now if I don't, let's see what I get. Actually, it worked well. Actually, I pedaled I held the pedal for half notes worth of each. So I half pedaled the measure and it worked very well. And the next section is in A major. We took away the D sharp. I'm still doing my slow practice. This blends. And there again, you have that 7th. That dissonance is fine, because that's Debussy's vocabulary. That could be one pedal. You can pedal that in one measure, one pedal. slowly. Suspension. Definitely clear the suspension. C major. It's like a hymn, almost a hymn in the impressionistic style. Get that triplet very floaty, like you're humming it. Back to the beginning, 4 chord, 3 chord, 2 chord, 1 chord, 2 chord, 2 7. Dominance 9. This is a coda. We're in the primary key here. 3 chord. Dominant 7. Beginning comes back. Yeah. When he has double stem notes with bass notes that are bass and then they belong to the tenor, or you could say the lowest voice and it being attached to a middle voice, like here, he does this. The stem down is this bass line. He draws attention to it by double stemming it. So you really want to be aware of that bass. By steps, it draws our attention. Now he starts that in, let's see, in E major. Now he takes it to A major sequence. Now he's got a diminished chord that takes us to the 2 chord of E major. And then the 2 7, 2 7. We're back to the home key. 3 chord, 5 7, 1. So there are a couple of places where he double stems the bass. That means that you should be bringing out the bass line too.